guys, we got ourselves some magic. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, and today I would like to share with you a few shots from my latest session. I had to give back the Zeiss lens that they lent me. So basically it was a Biogon 25mm paired with my Pixii APS-C sensor. It was just a bit narrower than 35mm, and I thought it was perfect for street photography. And I also felt inspired with monochrome. Why? Because if we avoid the distraction coming from colors and from saturation, then we have to focus on luminance, highlights, contrasty situations, or the absence of those elements. And therefore it's more true to life. So I tested this lens thoughtfully, and normally I have a few ducklings following me when I go for my street photography sessions downtown, because they want to gather the best secrets, the best spots in town, so on and so forth. And I normally do never talk about my shots, but I thought that this time I could share why I felt inspired in certain situations, because you're not simply just going around the city and snapping pictures of people you meet along the way. You are trying to portray good stories to be told, so something which is happening in front of your good self, which is not so ordinary. And so you won't be famous for snapping pictures or for stealing the soul from people going to work, so you will have to scout with attention. And this is what happens. And also, since I wanted to test thoughtfully this lens, I wanted to portray different situations, such as shooting completely in the shade, when you are in the shade by buildings, and then you're facing a double exposure because you might have your main subject in the shade while the background is lit by sunlight. And so if you want to avoid blowing away the highlights, you will have eventually to expose for the background and then push a bit the shadows in post, or the other way around. If you want to expose properly for your main subject, then forget about the background, so on and so forth. And so every time you have plenty of choices to be made before pushing the shutter button. So I always try to do my best before pushing that button, so that the end result will not require any post-production, because I don't really like to play in post, maybe some minor adjustments, but if you need to start touching the RGB channel, reframing, cropping, so on and so forth, well, maybe next time think better and more before shutting the pressure button. So I'm just sharing a few inspirations here with you and with the ducklings that were following me that day, and why I thought that this person was interesting, and why I thought that the way lights bounced against the other subject was interesting, and why I thought that here I needed to move closer to my subject, and why here I wanted to give it a bit more of a background, just as a reference for you to understand when we were. So yeah, my ride is almost back. I'm going towards campus today because I have a shooting for some music band, so today I'm having much fun and I wanted to try this alternative route. But anyway, if you're ready, let's go rolling. So as you can see, guys, here we got some magic, we got some ray of light hitting the face of this person, but I've been going around in the city to find some suitable scenes to be recorded and told. I wanted to tell some stories, and so I've been going around scouting both areas in the shade, like in this case, or area hit by hard light, like in this case, and try to see and find something interesting. And so this lens helped me a lot, because this is black and white storytelling, guys, and so we're not getting any distraction from the saturation, from the colors. It's only luminance or the absence of it. So we need contrasty scenes to be told, and something that is happening, but it's not just going around and telling random stories for people you cross at the street. You try to get some nice composition out of it, or something that is at least odd, because otherwise, if it's just a regular morning in the city, see, you're trying to make it changing the point of view. Here I climbed up a few staircases, and then there are just other people going around, or you try to do some composition with interesting persons and interesting scenes happening, because it's summertime in the city. And so differently from any other city where you might be on the seaside, here it's still downtown, and if you know Vancouver, it's torn in between downtown, the seaside, and the mountains, and so you can take the best out of it. And then you have urban situations happening, and you also have tourists, and so you want to give it some special treatment with light. And I have to say that the Zeiss lens helped me a lot, because even when you are completely in the shade, like this case, I didn't like particularly this shot, but I just wanted to witness what is happening here, because we had to pump the shadow quite a bit, versus the highlights that I managed not to clip in the background. While if you want to have reflections and shades, well, this is far more interesting. And so the contrasty capabilities coming from the Pixii when you're shooting raw monochrome files, paired with such an interesting lens such as the 25mm Biogon that I'm using, and then I stopped using because I had to send it back to Zeiss, so thank you Zeiss for that, made this life and this morning very interesting, with people jumping around and tripping the light, even if it was an ordinary morning in the city. And so many other things to happen and stories to be told. This was a fun situation because this folk was yelling at another folk crossing across the plaza, and the guy following him. You see what weird expression they had as a comment to it. I'm not quoting it, but we have many things. You have bikes, you have families going around in the bikes. These are still tourists. You can rent bikes here in Vancouver. You have umbrellas telling story, and then we have the master of the day, because I was walking around alongside this girl, and she was so happy. She was juggling her with a few items in her bag, and so I thought it was interesting, especially if you have a sequence of shots to tell this story, rather than the cloud of smoke puffed from other girls, rather than ordinary white collars or advertisement. And then on Robson Avenue, I wanted to have this side-by-side comparison with people compared to the people in the advertisement right there, and so see the difference in expression, in lighting, in the situation, and then eventually some reflection and people caught candidly inside this coffee shop. But this is, and here we have another story of this very fierce man. But then eventually I followed also this lady that was following him, because she was so naive in this part of the city where you have very beautiful boutique, as you can see, boutiques and boutique people. And then here I was witnessing other ones, and then we had a person standing there in the corner. So as you can see, we are getting closer and closer, because with 35mm you are close enough to see people's facial expression, but you're not so close so they don't act weird. You can catch them with candid expressions. So with that, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos to come, and I guess I will see you later. Thank you. Bye.